Hello, and thank you for joining us today for SPC Talks. I have the privilege of having Afan Awesome with me today. Afan is our operations manager, and he's my technical guy. When I have questions, I always go to him. So there's been some big announcements regarding Amazon's FBA reimbursement policy. And I brought Afan on today because I just want to ask him a few questions about it. He's attended webinars and stuff trying to make sure that he fully understands all of this. So Afan, thank you for joining us today.
Hi Debbie, thank you for having me over this session.
Yes, so let's just dive right into this, okay?
Sure.
What were the key changes in Amazon's FBA reimbursement policy that will take effect October 23rd?
Okay, the key changes that Amazon is doing in this policy that is going to take effect on October 23rd can be classified into three different types. First thing is that Amazon is making the policy, the reimbursement really proactive, and Amazon will automatically reimburse sellers for any lost or damaged inventory in the fulfillment centers. The second key factor, the second key changes that Amazon has mentioned in this policy are the shorter eligibility window. So now, as per this policy, the time frame for submitting the claims for lost and damaged goods in Amazon's fulfillment center is going to be reduced. And lastly, the key factor that Amazon is talking about is the focus on automation. As per the policy, Amazon aims to streamline the reimbursement process throughout the automation process of automatically identifying the reimbursement opportunities and discrepancies in the current process of inventory management at the fulfillment center and accordingly proactively reimbursing the sellers for that.
Wow, so fun. If I understand you correctly, there's actually three big places. The
Yeah.
proactive reimbursements, that's new, right? Previously,
Mhm.
you always had to file for your own reimbursements with Amazon. Is that correct?
No, previously, also Amazon did used to provide reimbursements to the sellers for any inventory that has been damaged or lost in the fulfillment center. But frequently or often there are cases where reimbursements are not properly calculated. So in that case, in those cases specifically, the sellers have to kind of do
Mm.
an audit of their inventory and then request any potential reimbursement from Amazon.
Oh, great. Thanks for clarifying that. Now, regarding the specific changes on eligibility for like lost, damaged units or FBA refunds and removals, what are some of the specifics?
Uh, okay, the specifics about these are that there are multiple things that are going into Amazon's fulfillment center, right? Uh, Whenever the seller sends their inventory to Amazon's fulfillment center, they're stored in boxes and storage areas. So there are chances that the item can be either lost in transit because whenever we ship inventory to Amazon, Amazon has multiple fulfillment centers divided all across different states and regions. So there are high chances that while in this transit, the items, the units can be lost by Amazon. So this is one type. The second type is where during the transit or during moving the inventory from one place to another, or either it could be a return from the customer, which could cause the unit to be damaged. So in case the unit has been lost or damaged by Amazon, these are the two key factors or two key specifics that happens around the inventory in the fulfillment center.
Okay, good. Well, that's good to know. Now, I think when I was looking at it, one of the really significant things to me was the shorter eligibility window.
Yeah.
For making these claims. And that's the reason why we're really wanting to talk about it today, is because there's like some huge differences, like lost and damaged units. You used to have 18 months in order to claim any of that. What does the new rule state?
Well, you are right, Debbie. This is exactly why this policy is really important and why we are really highlighting this policy update. Because previously the sellers used to have around 18 months to claim any potential reimbursement that they might found during the inventory reconciliation. But now the timeline, the time frame, the window for filing uh, potential reimbursement for any lost or damaged unit that has been shortened to only 2 months.
Wow, that's a huge difference. Like you've lost more than a year's time in which you can file these claims. So it really means that you've got to stay on top of your FBA. Once this policy goes into effect, you have to, right from the beginning, be paying attention to what your shipments are being received at and stuff like that. Tell me about refunds. What has the change in the amount of time for, say, FBA customer refunds gone from?
Oh, well, the FBA customer refunds also used to be around 18 months. And by FBA customer returns, we means that if the customers have returned the product, how do we make sure that the product have been accurately received by Amazon and kind of
Mm.
reconciled, Amazon has reconciled the inventory back to the original estimate. So this is, we can track this information on the Seller Central and while tracking this information, if there's any discrepancy, we used to have 18 months to file any claim on Amazon, but this window has also been shortened to only 4 months, effective on October 23rd.
Wow, another one that you lose almost a year, over a year in the amount
Yeah.
of time that you can file these claims. I mean, before, if you weren't paying attention to your account, you might, you could, wait some time and then do it. But really, Amazon is expecting you to pay close attention to what's going on in FBA right now.
Mhm. Yeah, and the toughest one that I want to talk about, and I know this is going to be your next question, is actually FBA removal orders. So
Yes.
FBA removal orders are really important for the customers. The customers often create removals for the inventory that if they have miscalculated the inventory or for any reason, if they want to just remove the inventory, get it back to their warehouses, then it takes some time for Amazon to ship back the inventory and close the complete case. Now, this used to be around, and if there are any discrepancies, meaning that if they had ordered Amazon or requested Amazon to remove maybe 100 units, and Amazon has only sent back around 98 units, then the discrepancy being 2 units, if they want to classify this, if they have been informed about this and they want to file a claim, the timeline used to be again 18 months, and the biggest change is around this one. It is going to be shortened to only 2.5 months.
Wow. And that's 2.5 months from when they actually receive the removal order.
2.5 months from when they create the removal order.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that really reduces the time. I mean, so this is a pretty urgent matter. I mean, what are the potential consequences for sellers who don't take the time right now to make reimbursement claims before this October 23rd? What could happen?
Well, if someone misses this deadline and does not kind of work on getting best reimbursement before October 23rd, then one potential consequence that is really obvious is that they are going to lose the reimbursement opportunity. The seller may miss out on the potential reimbursement for the lost, damaged goods, as well as customer returns and the FBA returns as well. And anything that may have occurred before the deadline, all of the 18 months data that may be completely erased, may be completely gone, so they might not be able to look into the data or file any potential claim for that. So this is one of the main loss for the sellers. And apart from this, even if they are able to get the data from Amazon, it is going to be more complex because the process of submitting a reimbursement is fairly simple. You just have to create a case, but for that case to be submitted on Amazon, the deadline will have been paused, making the process
Mm.
more complicated, and this will potentially cause delayed refunds from Amazon. So these are the potential consequences that the sellers will be facing if they fail to meet the deadline of October
Yeah.
23rd.
Yeah, I mean, the reimbursement process before, if you had just not been paying attention to your FBA, you at least had time to do it. Now the problem is you have to pay attention to FBA. It's almost makes sense that you would have, if you don't have the bandwidth yourself, that you may need to have a firm that actually just manages your FBA account.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with you.
Now tell me, how can sellers ensure that they're maximizing reimbursement opportunities?
Well, to maximize their reimbursement opportunities, the sellers can first thing first, that is really, really, really important. They should proactively work as per this policy to capitalize on the current more lenient timeline, and sellers should proactively file any potential reimbursement claim before the deadline of 23rd of October. And this is the first thing. This is the first thing that all of the sellers should be doing right now. And apart from this, moving forward as the policy takes in place, they should work on improving their inventory management
Mm,
practices by maintaining good inventory record, doing regular audits of the inventory to identify any potential reimbursement opportunities. Because now, after October 23rd, the window for the reimbursement claims is going to be shortened. So now, more than ever, they need to kind of really work hard on their inventory management skills and
mm,
practices. And lastly, we are assuming that there are going to be improvement in the time windows for customer returns as well as FBA damaged and lost items. So another thing that I would recommend for to all of the sellers is to be continuously updated on all of the policies from Amazon. So just stay about any policy changes. There is a news channel just on the seller dashboard. Just keep reviewing it all the day, every time to make sure that if there is any policy update from Amazon, we are updated about it. The sellers are informed.
yeah, now I know that we do account management for a lot of people, but we also have just an inventory management. If people are really concerned about how to maintain these inventory records and then just doing the discrepancies and reimbursements and stuff like that, I did want to mention that there may be agencies out there that are doing just inventory management. If you're happy with how you're doing your listings and you're not looking for full account management, you may, after October 23rd, really want to start considering whether or not you have inventory management. What are the primary reasons you think that Amazon decided to shorten this reimbursement window?
Okay, so what I think is, so based on our research, I have two main reasons for which Amazon may be shortening the window. The first one is, it's really obvious that Amazon is a really dynamic platform and it is constantly growing, evolving. Every day, lots and lots of sellers are registering their businesses on Amazon. So the shorter windows to the sellers by actually shortening the window. Amazon wants to kind of work on the process a little bit faster because now as the sellers are increasing on the platform, the backlog is increasing for Amazon as well. They are receiving more and more complaints, more and more reimbursement claims from the sellers. So what Amazon want to do, Amazon want to shorten the window so that they can potentially prevent any further issues and accordingly do faster calculations for the sellers and provide faster resolutions. And another thing that I think is the efficiency improvement. So Amazon aims to streamline its operations by reducing the backlog of any potential reimbursement claims that they have gathered throughout the previous.
Yeah, I think that is a great point that you're making there, Afan, is that, Amazon is so large that if they can streamline some of those operations and reduce the backlog, I think that's beneficial, of course, to them. Of course, like we said, it does mean that the sellers are going to have to really watch their program, watch their sales and their FBA and address any problems that they come up with promptly. How can sellers ensure that they meet these new deadlines for submitting claims?
Well, what I will suggest is that again, the first thing is doing audit of their inventory, do a complete audit. Amazon provide fulfillment reports. They should be doing an audit of their previous history to get as much data and utilizing different tools, automated tools and best practices in order to find any potential reimbursement claim. Or the second option is to leverage a dedicated service provider. So by partnering with a specialized service provider like SPCTEK for that matter, can be really invaluable for the sellers because these service providers, they have a lot of expertise and resources to identify these potential reimbursement opportunities, right? And accordingly, they can track the deadlines, submit claims on the seller's behalf in order to kind of capitalize uh, the profit and capitalize all of the reimbursement, potential reimbursement before the deadline occurs. Uh, so this is my recommendation how they can ensure that they meet the deadlines.
Yeah, now what happens, do you think, if they fail to meet and they miss one of the deadlines before this reimbursement claim changes?
Well, if they miss this deadline, then of course their uh, reimbursement could have been gone. So all of the 18 months data won't be available to the sellers. And even if they are able to request this data from Amazon by submitting multiple cases, by talking to the seller support, then again they have due to the complexity of the deadline being paused, the process is going to be really complex for these sellers. And
Mm.
Amazon, the reimbursements from Amazon, those are also going to be delayed. So there will be delayed refunds from Amazon. So these are the consequences of missing this deadline.
Yeah, there's a lot of sellers who really rely heavily on the FBA fulfillment and inventory management. What do you think these changes will do to affect them?
Well, this is a really good question. So nowadays, sellers are opting for FBA because that is the faster that that makes them a prime seller. So
Mm.
uh, in this regards, as per this policy, this is going to increase their operational burden. So these sellers will need to allocate more resources for inventory management, claim submission, and policy updates, track the policy changes if there is any update from Amazon, and potentially one consequence is that there would be a higher risk of errors.
Mm.
So since the sellers are more relying on FBA, Amazon, they are sending in more and more inventory to Amazon, and Amazon may make more mistakes due to the increased load of the inventory. So the complex inventory management practices such as frequent stock transfer removal can increase the risk of discrepancies and calculation errors impacting the reimbursement claims for them. And
Yeah.
I also want to highlight one more thing over here, and
Okay.
uh, that is one special case. So uh, nowadays, as Amazon is constantly evolving their policies, and the policies is evolving all around the seller central. They are not just specific to the reimbursement, but one policy depends on the other policy, and this is how Amazon works. So I want to talk about health over here, a little bit about health. So there, due to health, if any ASIN is suspended due to any potential claim, if an ASIN is suspended on Amazon, then the inventory for that ASIN moves to another stage that is called stranded stage on Amazon. And the inventory management for stranded inventory is a little bit more complicated, as sometimes
Mm.
Amazon will allow a certain number of units to be removed, which increases the chances of errors and gives us more opportunities to file any reimbursement claims. So again, the sellers who heavily rely on FBA needs to be really, really proactive due
Mm.
to the shortening of these windows, and do regular or monthly audit, at least monthly audits if they cannot do audits on a weekly basis in order to find any potential issues with the inventory.
Yeah, so you talked a little bit earlier about the fact that this may mean, particularly for people who have high inventory turns, that they may have to go to a third party service provider. What do you think the role for that provider is going to be to help the sellers kind of navigate some of these changes?
Okay, so these service providers, of course, they would be expert in they would have dedicated teams who are expert in all of the policies and knowing how Amazon works. So these service providers with in-depth knowledge of Amazon's policies and reimbursement processes can effectively identify and pursue any potential reimbursement claims. And accordingly, by leveraging advanced data analytics, these service
Mm.
providers optimize the claim submission process and increase the recovery options and recovery rates for all of the sellers in the market. And the third and the last and most important thing is the service providers. This is their job. This is their job to be informed about Amazon's policies, right? So by staying on top of the policies and any policy changes, by utilizing specialized tools, service provider can ensure timely claim submission, and yeah, that is how a service provider can, what role can service provider play, and what they can bring into the table for these sellers.
Yeah, I think that you know, buyers need to realize there's a benefit to using specialized FBA reimbursement services now, especially right now. Okay. If you've been on Amazon for a little while and stuff, tell us what some of the benefits are if somebody would come to have an FBA audit and claim all of these funds now before the deadline changes. What is that benefit?
Well, if we talk about now, we are already in the third quarter and Q4 is just coming. So by kind of outsourcing this particular thing to a service provider, by outsourcing this, the reimbursement management opportunities, sellers can focus on their core business model,
Mm,
on their core business operations as the
good
Q4
point.
is arriving. Yeah, and again, the experts team can identify any hidden reimbursement claim and opportunities that might be overlooked by the sellers in their auditing. And lastly, is risk mitigation. So service providers can help minimize the risk of missing any deadline by staying on the top of the policy updates. Yeah.
Afan, I know that that we manage several FBA with the account management and stuff like that. Maybe there's some people out there who are listening today and they're saying, I ship FBA, but I don't think that I don't know that there are any problems. How frequently do you see the FBA reimbursements are on people's accounts and they just don't know about it?
More often than people think about it, more often than sellers think about it. There are every day, every day there are these kind of discrepancies in the inventory and the reimbursement process. So Amazon is a giant. Amazon is a giant in the e-commerce area. Amazon leads that area by a big margin right now, and Amazon may have their best practices for kind of managing the inventory and accordingly identifying any reimbursements and reimbursing the amounts to the sellers. But Amazon rely on automated systems, and automated
Mm,
systems make mistakes. So we
yeah,
see this on a weekly, on a daily basis. There are opportunities, there are overlooked claims that needs to be filed. I can let me tell you about one of our customers. One of our
okay.
customer was working on Amazon, and they were selling a they were selling a this big product, but the dimensions of this product were this big on Amazon. So
Okay.
Amazon kept charging them the oversized fulfillment charges. But once we identified this, we accordingly created a case and submitted this on Amazon and requested a big reimbursement because we told Amazon that hey, you guys have wrongly measured the item, and these are the correct measurements. You may need to remeasure the item, and once they remeasured the item, they confirmed that this should not be an oversized item. This is a standard size item, and sorry, we have charged you for a very long time by the fulfillment charges for an oversized item. Let us reimburse you that amount.
This is actually not just about refunds and returns and that type of stuff. There's a lot of things that can happen. You said Amazon is huge. Amazon is also logistically huge because of
Yes.
all of their warehouses and stuff like that. So, again, if they're using automation, there's opportunity to miscount, there's opportunity for mismeasurements. I mean, and you're paying Amazon for that entire time that you're storing that vehicle, I mean, that storing that item at exactly whatever they measure it at. So if their measurements are wrong, you should not be paying the amount of storage. You should not be paying that amount for shipping rates. There's so many things that can go wrong. That is so interesting to me about the fact that we just found that one measurement and it was a huge refund because it had been charged since the moment that they received it
Mhm.
incorrectly when we found it. So, what would your recommendation be to somebody who's FBA who says, I just don't know if I really need this?
Well, my recommendation would be that this is kind of a win-win opportunity for them. Even if they think they do not need this, they should just opt for it because we they will only pay if there's any opportunity, if there is a successful reimbursement, right? So this is a win-win situation for all of the sellers.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what we're advertising right now is we're doing a $99 FBA audit, and then we are only charging a percent on any of the funds that we get back. So we'll do the audit and tell you whether we think it's really worth your assessment, and that $99 investment could bring you back hundreds or thousands of dollars because we're talking about an 18-month period that we can go back. And so I have to agree with you, Afan. If you're selling on Amazon and you use FBA, you need to at least have the audit done to see, because the chances are there are things that are happening that you've never thought about on your FBA account that could get you money back.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Going 18 months back, that's a big move for all of the
Mm,
sellers. Yeah, and that
yeah.
opens doors to a lot of opportunities as well.
Yeah, Afan, thank you so much for coming and talking to me today. And I mean, this was a big move by Amazon that they made this. And I appreciate all your knowledge and expertise in telling us, what's
Mhm.
going on and what we can do and, all of that type of stuff. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Debbie.
All right. Well, you enjoy the rest of your afternoon, okay?
And you too. Take care. Bye now.
All right. Bye bye.